you have a natural flow of creating tension and then resolving it, putting spaces, playing dynamically, because all these things are taken into consideration that make your melodic, that make your playing so melodic, regardless of what the chord progression is, because you'll play over things that are very complex, like the bridge on James that keeps modulating, right? So that's a thing that most jazz players can't play.
I've watched a lot of really good bebop players.
They cannot play.
Crash and burn on the bridge of James.
They can't play over the bridge of James.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's interesting how that works, you know. I mean, one thing I will say, kind of as a little parenthesis here, I think a lot of people just listening to the tunes think they're way easier than they actually are. And I think that's good. You know, I mean, I've had that feeling myself. Like, I've watched Pat Metheny, I go, it doesn't seem that hard.
No,
or Paco. Like, I think I could probably do that.
So when you're playing over the bridge of James, though, it sounds easy because you're able to weave through that chord progression so effortlessly. Yeah. Okay, so Pat, you have your guitar here. Let's talk about James. We're talking about the bridge to James. Now, I always say that major chords for jazz players, playing over major chords, that's like kryptonite for jazzers, right? And now James has major chords, has inverted major chords or dominant chords and things like that. Why is it so difficult to play over these kind of things? And you're incredibly good at doing this. Let's talk about the chord progression first for the bridge.
Well, most of James is diatonic to the key, and even the bridge, if you were to play it in the key of C, you'd still be on all white notes, which is, it just kind of came out that way. The idea of kind of pushing diatonic harmony just a step or two along the way is something that, is interesting and fun, and a lot of standard tunes do things like that too.
Yeah.
But where James has a sort of cultural connection is probably much more to literally James Taylor, who I named the tune after, actually. It's this very kind of diatonic thing, meaning it's going to stay kind of within the basic chords that people know that are in the key of, and it basically is that. And why jazz guys have trouble with that is that the approach to it, I think that a lot of people do, is they kind of do pentatonic stuff.
Yeah.
Which is it's a solution. You won't offend your neighbors much, and you also won't say too much about the chords. You're going to be just kind of surviving and playing above it all.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing for me about playing tunes in general, whether it's a simple diatonic-y kind of thing or a complicated set of changes, is that to me the idea would be to show people the changes. Like, check this out.
Sure.
Look how cool it is when this note changes to that note. So I'm always trying to find the places in the chords where the activity that's moving the chords along is happening. And at the same time, I think you've done talks about common tones being a really good thing to look for so that you can connect ideas and all that.
Yeah.
So sort of a combination of those things is certainly at work. But the key thing for me in any tune is to, first of all, be able to just kind of solo playing the notes and the chords.
Right.
Which is sort of the way the music developed for a good chunk of its history. I mean, there were major improvisers that were playing more in what we would call a vertical way, meaning up through the chords as opposed to going across the chords. And the thing is, if you can't really do that, this thing is probably not going to be that deep. It's going to be kind of like I was saying, you're going to be floating above it. So the chords to the bridge are still, we've all kind of been in the key of D.
Yep.
And now we're going to set up a 5 to yet another part of the D diatonic world.
Yep.
And then we're going to put kind of a setup chord that's going to get us to the 5. And now we're back.
Yes. But describing those chords while you're improvising, that's the trick.
So
tell me
before
about how
we
you
describe
approach that.
So literally the chords are A, A, then F sharp 7,
Yep.
and I'm putting in the G, so it's got kind of a flat 9, which is very typical to go to a minor chord. Now we're to B minor, and then I'm going to go to A again, but this time in the first inversion.
Over C sharp,
with the C sharp, and then we're back to the tonic, and now we're going to go to the D flat, but over F, which is going to lead us to that F sharp minor, and then to E over G sharp, and it's that first inversion, and then we're at the 5 chord, and that's kind of like an E minor inversion, and then we're back to the tonic again. That's like B minor, and then, I mean, all of those you can kind of do a lot of different ways of looking at it. I mean, honestly, when I play this tune now, I don't even know what I'm playing. It's like, it's just the shapes of the chords that are moving around. But technically, that's what it is. So, the step one for me would be then to be able to and then you're back in the tune. But being able to then, and I'm only playing the roots, the third, the fundamental notes, to then be able to go. I mean,
those
if
open triads and just arpeggiating.
And I'm just playing the chords. If somebody did that on a bandstand, people go, yeah, sounds great. And especially if you can do it in, it's really very simple, but it's very effective. So then if you kind of, you still have that idea, but you're kind of like thinking of things that are going to outline it. All of that is just diatonic triads, really.
Right.
And, it sounds good. And then you're like in the tune, you're showing the tune. You don't even need a bass player, let alone a piano player. You're illuminating what those chords are. And that's kind of the thing for me, is to like, isn't it cool how it goes to that D flat? Check this out. And where that happens, are these little lines.
That's right.
And I mean, you can even, this is the bass line, which kind of says a lot right there. So if you just take the bass line and add a note on top.
That's right.
Just 2 notes. So it's like understanding, again, that's the word that seems to keep coming up in our talk today. Understanding kind of opens the doors to things. So, in this case, being able to just, in a very simple way, explain what makes stuff happen seems to work.
I want to remind everybody that the new Beato book interactive is out, so you can get it at my store. Just go to beatobook.com. If you've bought a previous version of my Beato book, you can upgrade right there, and check out my Beato ear training and quick lessons as well. Thanks so much for watching.